What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Flow In, Flow Out podcast with your host, Sam Nang. So, we're on episode 30. And today I'm going to talk about something that I think is very intriguing. And I've talked about this a lot in some of my other podcasts and put out some of my information. So, I thought I'd just do a super in-depth podcast that goes over this topic, and it's interesting. So this topic is interesting: is vibrations, energies, and frequencies, and how does it relate to like personal development. And the biggest why, or why I'm doing this podcast, is to help you guys elevate your emotions, right? Elevated emotions, when you're in these elevated emotions, they help you become more productive. And it's a great way, especially studying the works of to the people that I study, especially in this field of quantum physics. Right? It's kind of complicated. It takes a little bit of knowledge to get into this type of work, but it's really just a way to explain spirituality in with scientific backings and using a little bit of philosophies and telling stories. And the idea is to really believe, right, that you can change internally by understanding these concepts. And most of it, the reason why people don't make change is because you don't believe it, right? So now that the scientific information has been coming out on how we explain more of how our brain works, our body works, how we're connected to the universe and everything. So this podcast is going to be some insight from me and talk a little bit about how vibration, energies, and frequencies uh, will help you on your personal development journey. And that's the reason why, right? It's not just quantum physics, it's not studies and stuff, but really understanding why, how it helps to help you in your daily life. Me as a coach, the biggest reasons and the reason why I do this podcast is to bring and translate some of these information, these texts, this information that might be very challenging and hard to understand, and explain it into layman's terms. But so this is an exciting episode that I've been really thinking about and wanted to put together. So thank you for being here again with the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. I'm the host. I am the head coach at Peak Performance Academy. So we have a personal development community where we do have a community, live coaching calls to share this information, knowledge with people that are high vibrational. And the purpose of this podcast is to help you raise your vibrational state, right? That is the purpose of Flow In, Flow Out podcast, is to help you to elevate your collective vibration. So part of this podcast is to get that information out there to you. And I'm available for personal coaching, and I do have lifestyle packages as well too. So let's get ready and dive into this episode. I'm very excited. I put this one together for you, and really excited to share this information with you. If there is any insight, if there is things that you enjoy about the podcast, if you want to share with somebody that you think might be useful for, or would be in use of this podcast, please share it, because that's how we get our community, that's how we grow our community. And let's get started. I'm excited about this. All right, guys. So let's kick off the podcast. So I'm excited. Kind of new format is to be structured, give you some good information, valuable content on here that helps with your personal development journey. So I'm excited. So the first one that we're gonna talk, or the first thing that we're gonna talk about, is the vibrational scale. I know some of you guys heard me talk about this on my Instagram, on my Facebook, about vibrations and how important it is to live in a happy, fulfilling life. And it's exciting to share this message with you, because a lot of research has been coming out with quantum physics and how you explain it. But the first part of the podcast, I want to talk about state of emotions, or energies, right? Emotions, energies, they're very similar, right? I think the name is synonymous to what it is. So right here we got these survival emotions. When you're in survivor mode, like when you're reacting to a lot of things, the cortisol is fucking flowing, you're in these low vibrational states, and you just got to understand that sometimes you do get in these low vibrational states, and you just want to be able to get yourself out of it, or even just understand that these are states, right? Or state could change very easily by doing a few things. We could talk about that later, but some of these low vibrational states: lust, pain, victimization, suffering, shame, guilt, fear, anger, control, power, right? They're negative emotions. And you see how this scale here is, when you look at it, it almost it always it's pretty much like 70 to 80% of what this chart is, right? And you can understand how easy it is to stay in these states because of all the stuff that comes on in the news and the politics and your friends and stuff. So the idea, when we talk about like gratitude is another state, and we practice that when we're meditating, we're doing our personal development work. Gratitude is something that is an emotion that you want to embody, right? Generate this emotion, because it creates something. So gratitude, and the the idea is that some people are grateful, right? But sometimes we dip into these areas here. But the thing is, when we dip into these areas that are below the gratitude area, it's okay. We just got to recognize it and be able to get us in these higher stated emotions, right? They're elevated emotions. These next emotions are elevated above gratitude, right? Some of you guys are grateful, and you guys have a gratitude journal or a gratitude practice, but there's another level to it. And that's why we're listening to this podcast. Okay. So joy, love, freedom, bliss, these are all elevated emotions. These are emotions when you meet somebody that are on a different level, because their emotions are elevated. And understanding this chart, and basically like looking at this chart, that majority of the population, majority of the people that you see yourself, all the information that's put out there is meant to keep you in this low vibrational state. So it is your job, it's your duty to bring yourself up into the state of gratitude and elevate it. And part of why I do this podcast and why I put this information out is so I can help you elevate that emotion as well too. And when you get into these elevated emotions, what's the reasoning behind it? Joy, love, freedom, bliss. I could tell you what, these emotions lead to a lot of other different things. It leads into like productivity. It leads into connection. It leads into growth, personal growth. It leads into spiritual growth. It leads into relationships growing. So there's all these benefits to be in this state. And one of my main mentors, Tony Robbins, everybody knows that I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, but his he states that it's about 80% psychology, right? Managing your emotions, managing your states, it's about 80% of what you want to do. And then the other 20%, right? If you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to transform your life, uh, the technical knowledge, if you're in this elevated emotion and you understand your psychology and your state, you will be more likely to get that information. Resources are at your fingertips, and most people don't understand that the thing is, if you manage your emotional state, you will be more willing to stick to your goals. So that's why it's important to understand this and understand how to manage them. So that's why is so important. But let's talk about quantum physics. So the definition of quantum physics, according to Wikipedia, it's the fundamental theory in physics that describes the behavior of nature at and below the scale of atoms. That means at the smallest particle, that everything is energy, right? Which is neat. And having that understanding is very important when it comes to really believe in it, right? Belief is really the first part. And I want to talk about we talked about energy. Now we're going to talk about frequencies. So frequencies, um, really like how people explain spirituality now is, you could change your brain, right, through meditation, breath work, to be coherent and tune your brain into these frequencies that are receptive to what we call the universe, what we call God, right? If you want to be productive and do something very hard, like build your dreams, you have to be able to have this ability to connect to something. And faith is a really big, important part of your personal development, spiritual journey. And frequencies, we can use it. Everybody understands how and radios work. If you're interested in listening to, say, uh, some rock music, you want to go tune your radio dials to 101.1, right? And similar in that aspect, when you could actually change these frequencies in your brain to match up to the frequencies that God, the universe, is gonna get to you. So there's a couple brain waves, and I'll talk about them, and then the best time to get these into brainwave, or to get into these or change these brain waves. So the beta brain waves, there's beta brain waves, there's alpha brain waves, there's theta waves, there's delta waves, there's gamma waves, right? My understanding from the beta waves, that's what we're typically in. We're kind of in this mode when we wake up and we're busy and we got to go to the day things. We're busy, we're alert, beta, but fortunately, this brain waves, they're not very coherent to receiving new materials or really actually changing your subconscious, right? So when you change your frequencies, you're actually going into change these brain waves to reprogram your thinking and your thoughts. And that's why it's important to understand that. And the best times to really reprogram your programming, what you see every day, is the time between when you're awake and then right before you go to sleep. Right, there's a transition between brain waves, because if you understand how natural, like, your body works and everything, these things change throughout the day. And if you could understand how the cycles work, and you could plant seeds, you could plant ideas and concepts and try to reprogram yourself. That's the best thing, right? And understanding, like, that's why it's so important. That's why they explain meditation before bedtime or right before you wake up. Is where there's a transition between brain waves and theta brain waves. And think about your brain waves as in frequencies, right? I don't know the exact number of, like, frequencies and everything to tune in to to the God or to the universe. I don't know the exact number, but I know how to do it myself. But there's definitely, if you want to continue doing research and figure out, I think that there's a lot of meditations that are in different frequencies to get you into, like, this state where your messages, your ideas, your hopes, your dreams, they become more sticky, right? They become this when your brains is coherent with it. So that's why you want to sync up these type of brain waves. And especially when it comes to meditation, doing it consistently, right, reaffirms everything and becomes your identity, the more you do it. So all the benefits of meditation is explained here, how it changes your brain frequencies, and you could tune in to, your higher self, your higher being, if you want to achieve that level of consciousness. This frequencies, learning how to understand how to change your frequencies, help increases your level of consciousness. And with level of consciousness, you could receive information a lot easier than if you were in a different brain state. So I try to keep myself in a brain or a wave state where I could receive information a lot easier and better. And this is just one of those practical things. So we talked about energy, we talked about frequencies, and now let's talk about vibrations. Vibrations in the context of energy refers to the movement of particles in a substance or a system. So what does that mean? It's interesting, right? This phenomenon can be explained in many different ways, especially you can see it and observe it in nature. You know that saying where somebody just comes in and lights up a room, and it's a real phenomenon, right? Because that energy, right, is contagious. It could be transmuted. It could be influenced to somebody, right? So a person that's bright, that's highly elevated, that's high vibrational. For example, I'm pretty high vibrational. I keep my emotions very elevated. And part of you probably listening to this podcast is part of me vibrating. So you could start to feel some of this energy, right? Um, Another phenomenon that could be explained is, I'm not sure if you guys, the word osmosis is when you're in communities. Communities start to end up being very similar in mindsets and ideas, and start to be very similar in how they look, how they act, and it's seen in communities all over, right? So that's how you explain vibrations in like communities and in real life. Um, but now, with that understanding, now how do we use that in personal development? So vibrations and influence is it's something that it's a good and bad thing, right? You just have to bring awareness of it. Part of this podcast is to bring awareness that we do influence each other uh, knowingly and knowingly, right? So part of personal development is learning how to develop on your own, just being more aware of this, being more conscious. In business, there's a concept or a saying that they say you are who your five best or closest friends are, right? So it's very important to really curate who is close in your network, who is in your business, because that's what's going to determine a lot of what your success is going to be. If you're hanging out with losers, if you're hanging out with people that are low vibe, that are all consuming the same things over and over, you tend to stay in the same low vibrational state. So if you wanted to elevate and get yourself into a higher elevational state, start listening to positive stuff, right? That's what I tend to do. Most of my whole life, I spend listening to podcasts, reading positive books, reading books that will really develop myself, right? I influence me. I don't influence by anybody else besides me. Of course, we have to get information and do our own research and everything. But you, as the person, as the supercomputer, right, have to analyze all this information and see and how it makes sense. But learning and understanding how vibrations work is, you could do it in your favor, right? Listen to a podcast, listen to some positive stuff, curating your network of positive people, right? That's a very important part in personal development, that subatomically, like, we can influence each other. And when you influence each other and you step yourself out of these elevated emotions or these low emotions to something higher, these people that have elevated emotions will elevate you, right? Get you to think a little bit differently and get you into these blissful, joyful emotions, and that really changes you. And thing is, like, um all right, part of the podcast, part of what we do is also be practical at the same time. Information is not practical if you don't practice it, right? Practical practice. So I'm gonna list a few things that you can do to help raise your vibrational state. And the biggest and most beneficial thing that you can do is being mindful and having a meditation practice, right? A meditation practice doesn't have to be complicated. And people, when we get started in meditating, it's like, how do you do it? There is no real right way or wrong way to do it. It's really just putting some time, right, in your calendar, and being mindful that you can give yourself some space. You don't have to rush to things. You don't have to do things that you don't really necessarily have to, right? If you give yourself 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day in the morning to be mindful about what you're going to do and your intentions are, right? You're going to move more in the right direction versus just being busy. Um, Next thing would be healthy eating, right? We all know the importance of nutrition and how it plays into like your brain function. There's different things that you can eat to make your body energized, more nutrients, so you're healthier. Different types of energies, there's things that you want to avoid, and we can go into that into the different podcasts about nutrition. But part of it is just listen that, or understand that. But the next thing is physical exercise. Physical exercise is so important to raising this vibrational state, and everybody knows it, and everybody knows how good it feels when you get outside of the gym or done a really intense workout, and how good you feel, and those endorphins are. And those are ways to, when those endorphins are pumping through your body, you have physically done something to make that happen, right? So it's an act of manifestation when you go exercise. For me, when I go bodybuild and I go get a pump and stuff, and I see something in the mirror, that gives me some kind of sense in here that it's raising my awareness, is raising my vibrations. And positive thinking and affirmations, I know it's woo woo and some people don't agree with it, but how we act, how we see things, is it's based on a lot of our language that we talk to ourselves, right? If our language is shitty, if our language is low, it's negative, our actions become shitty. And the only way for us to do that is to continue to repeat things in our head, right? People have mottos, people have slogans, people have affirmations, incantations. These are all the same things, right? It's repetitive things that you say to yourself to make sure that you stay in a healthy vibrational state, right? Um, the next thing would be to connect with nature. Nature, in its essence, is us. We are nature at the same time. We are a being in nature. So being in nature does make you kind of synergize with nature and the energies. As you know, there's a lot of research coming out with like grounding and how like that positive effect is into who you are. And there's truth to it. When you go out there barefooted and everything, you start to feel more connected to nature, and you start feeling more connected to who you are. Another thing that you could do is creative activities. Creative activities, and I think when we get busy, we tend to not do these type of activities. But these activities really do exercise the brain, right? And it pushes yourself out into thinking a little bit outside of the regular box, right? Regular outside of the matrix. So if you engage into creative activities like podcasting, creating content, digital media, drawing, painting, music, these all help raise the vibrational state. The next thing would be acts of kindness and compassion, right? So for me, when I was going through my therapy and really just in these low vibrational states, one of the things that I try to do to get me outside of this is acts of kindness, right? And this podcast for me is an act of kindness. It's a contribution to society, and it makes me very fulfilled, right? This act of kindness, right, puts it in ether, puts it and sends your vibration out, right? And if you're one person like me and stuff, this I'm very energy based. The energy does come back to you, right? And then you're able to be compassionate with people. You're able to express love. You're able to show empathy to people that need your help, right? That need you to raise your vibrations up. The next thing is to declutter and organize. Declutter and organize is something that's very important, and meditation will help this. If you haven't, if you seem like you're very busy, you seem like you got way too much stuff on your plate, it's overwhelming. Decluttering and organizing like your physical space, right? Neat, tidy, um, your workspace, your mental space, your cabinets and everything. Those things keep you in a good mental space. And the last and most important thing I want to leave off with you guys is to continue to have healthy relationships. Healthy relationships, the quality of your life is going to be based on the quality of your relationships, right? And you want to make sure this is healthy and growing. And the most important relationship that you have to focus on, no, it's not pleasing your mom, it's not pleasing your doggy, it's not pleasing your daddy. The priority is yourself. Your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship, right? The more healthy you are, and the more accepting and loving and empathy and supportive you are to yourself, you're going to be able to build other people and have healthy relationships. So that's why it's so important to focus on yourself when we come into this personal development journey. A healthy relationship really determines the quality of your life. And imagine this, guys, and I got through this, like healthy relationships when I was going through my separation and my divorce. I was not in a good vibrational state because my relationship with my wife was not good. It was shitty. And I was doing everything I can to make that relationship heavy or healthy. And unfortunately, it wasn't. I wasn't able to do it, and it brought myself into a very low vibrational state, and I couldn't do a lot of the things that I can do now once I raised up my my vibrational states. But part of raising my vibrational states was making sure that I had very good and healthy relationships. For anybody that has helped me through my hard time, I continue to, annoying as I might be, I continue to check in, say, "Hey, how you doing? What can I do to support you?" Right, and I check in and continue to build those relationships, see where, they might be struggling with, and part of that's what I do, right, because that's how I get my energy. And having good, healthy relationships in anything, whether it be life, business, those will make your life better. So to wrap up this podcast, I appreciate you guys listening to this one. I hope it was very helpful for you guys. If you guys need extra support on it and everything, I'm available for one-on-one coaching. We have a coaching community as well too. So this information is meant to intend to help you be actionable and take some steps towards improving your life and making yourself happy and healthy and elevating these emotions. So I hope the vibrations, energies, and frequency podcast was very helpful for you guys. I hope it opened up your eyes a little bit. And if you have any friends or family members or anybody that might be interested in this type of content, have them be a part of the community. They could subscribe to the podcast. The podcast is on YouTube and is on Spotify. So, guys, thank you guys for tuning in and listening to this podcast. I really enjoyed doing it, and I will see you guys in the next one. I love you guys.